Good morning, everyone. Good morning,
Good
guys.
morning. Good
Hi,
morning.
Tero. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our weekly OpenShift Coffee Break. And as always, we do prefer very short coffee, but we are in open organization. So if you are going to have tea, coffee, water, whatever you want, you are always welcome. Tero, good morning. And
Morning.
Good morning. We have an old friend today as a guest, Edoardo Schepis. Good morning, Edoardo, and nice to see you again.
Ciao, good morning. Good morning, everybody. Thanks, Fabio.
And if you want just to introduce briefly yourself.
Sure.
I know you very well, but in your new
No.
Please.
I would be very happy to introduce myself. So first of all, thank you for having me. Well, I'm actually at the moment working in AWS since 2 years and a half as a solution architect manager. So managing a team of solution architects here in Italy. I'm based in Milan. Well, really briefly, I started my career in Sun Microsystem where I met for some user groups Natale that is missing in action at the moment, but we hope he will join soon.
Looking forward to see him around.
Yeah, I was Java architect there in professional service. Then after several other stories, I landed in Red Hat 12 years ago, more or less, as a solution architect and then as a solution architect manager. And actually, I was a witness of the beginning of the OpenShift story. And I will tell you how fun was at the very, very beginning to tell about the OpenShift 1.0 and 2.0 before containers, actually. So it's a funny story.
So before the Kubernetes era.
Yeah, before Linux containers, actually.
Okay,
it's funny.
Cool. Cool. So you're now here in your new role as the AWS, and what about your topic? The topic you're going to speak about today is something related to OpenShift, I suppose.
Yeah, indeed. It's related to both Red Hat and AWS. It's about ROSA, that is Red Hat OpenShift service on AWS. It's an interesting offering that we together, Red Hat and AWS, we launched more than 1 year ago. And it's I will go through some slides just to have
Please do it.
let's say a script to show, and these are the slides. Okay, I think they are now in presenter mode. Hopefully.
Yes, they are.
And
yes.
I will lose my video, but I hope you can see everything.
I can. Yes.
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So. This is really a quick introduction to ROSA, so to Red Hat OpenShift service on AWS, and I will go through also some kind of demo. Hopefully to have the demo good with me, and looking at the CLI and the web console and an application that I just deployed. If you have any question in the chat, or if you want to stop me, of course, this is a coffee break. It's interactive, so
please do it. Yeah, definitely, please, guys. Whoever is joining now, don't be shy, and I will forward your questions to
Thank
Edo.
you.
Sure.
So first of all, why Red Hat OpenShift? This is one of the first questions that I receive and we receive from customers, and I think also Red Hat receive from customers, and usually it's the question is, but you have your own proposition about containers and Kubernetes. Why you have also OpenShift? No? And actually, that's true. I mean, we have our different options, and it is coming as usual in many area of our services offering. So we have very we have a lot of different options because we want to target different personas, different users, and knowledge level on that side. So, for example, in analytics, in database, in machine learning, in IoT, we have different options because one tool doesn't fit, one service doesn't fit all. So we think that it's better to have several options and user can choose. Regarding containers, we have ECS, that was the first option, that the first service that we provided. Then we have EKS, that is based on Kubernetes, and now we have ROSA. So very, very quickly, if you think about ECS, it's what we call AWS opinionated way of running containers at scale. So it's very simple. It's for users and companies that are starting to approach containers. They probably want to reduce the time to build, deploy, and really having the focus on containers, and they are already on AWS. So it's the first step that we see for users and companies that are already using AWS to approach container world. Then, of course, we have the Kubernetes offering that is more for users and companies that are coming from the community, from the open source world. So they're already using Kubernetes. They want to use Kubernetes, and they appreciate, of course, the flexibility that Kubernetes provides. And at the same time, they would like to leverage the infrastructure and the options provided by AWS. There is another option, actually, that is what was already available since, I think, more than 2 years now. That is to deploy OpenShift on AWS in a self-managed way. So there is a really nice quick start that you can use to set up an architecture starting from scratch. So you can deploy your nodes, and we will see in details if we want a little bit. So the master nodes, the infra nodes, the compute nodes, so both the control plane and the data plane. You can deploy it on EC2, but you have to, of course, set up the virtual private cloud, so the VPCs, the gateways, subnet, the auto-scaling groups, all the subnets in private and public, and then you have to, of course, set up all the storage behind that and the YAML policy, so all the security layers. That is easy with the quick start. Is not, of course, an immediate job. Is not as a service. So the next step that we thought, and the agreement and the collaboration with Red Hat, what this collaboration is bringing is actually ROSA. ROSA is a managed service, first of all. So it's a service that you can use focusing on your containers and applications, and let AWS and Red Hat manage and support the underlying infrastructure. So you can reuse your OpenShift skills. You can leverage what you already have on OpenShift, the tooling and the knowledge, but you can, let's say, move all the heavy lifting, all the infrastructure layer stuff to the support of Red Hat and AWS. We will see the details in a moment about what we mean with the support and how we and Red Hat collaborate on that. So it's really an easy way to continue using OpenShift, but leveraging the cloud opportunity and the cloud offering. And we will see also other advantages of this offering. So a diagram, we cannot, we couldn't have a diagram in this call, in this event. This is how usually the customers mix and match or use our offering, EKS, ECS. So you will see, you can, let's say, integrate GitHub, Jenkins. We have our own container registry. You can integrate CloudWatch for monitoring, but also you can use Fargate. Fargate is a technology that you can use with ECS and EKS for, again, to let AWS to manage the servers or the clusters, So the EC2 instances without having the need of patching or monitoring the layer of the infrastructure. So focusing just on that. If you use ROSA, you have everything from OpenShift, so the operators, the built-in monitoring, the source-to image, Jenkins or pipelines, the built-in registry, of course, the OpenShift ingress and all this stuff. And you just use EC2 and, of course, EBS or other stuff on the storage layer and the load balancing, and we will see in detail. So these are the main two differences between what we offer and ROSA offering. And I think you can see the value if we compare OpenShift Container Platform by itself. It's something that customers use in their own environment. They install in a customized way. They can do a lot of integration. They can really open, and customize many things on premise. But of course, they are not leveraging the cloud paradigm, let's say. While we have the OpenShift Dedicated, that is an offering by Red Hat, and the Red Hat OpenShift service on AWS, so ROSA, where you leverage the cloud computing model. In particular, if you use ROSA, you have what I think is one of the main advantages, that is the pay as you go. So you have also for OpenShift the model of paying as you consume, as you go. And so this is really interesting for many customers we talk with. You don't need to buy an yearly subscription. You can or buy, let's say, a multi-year subscription. You can buy and pay as you go. So in the same cloud model that you have in AWS. I don't know if we have questions, Fabio, in the meantime, or if you want to.
No, still not. Tero, any questions so far from your side? Or because I do have one, but
I have a lot of feature requests since I've been using ROSA in my current work for production.
Okay.
It's now for 3 months.
Okay.
So a lot of feature requests, but let's go on with the presentation.
Sure. Please. We can leave the question later. Yes, please. Go ahead.
Okay. Thank you. So as I told you, the support, the management is handled by Red Hat and AWS. What does it mean exactly? This is really a simple, very simple table and picture of how it is composed. I mean, how the support is split between us and the Red Hat. As you can see with ROSA, this is very simple. We have a link. I don't know, Fabio, if we can provide also this slide after all the links, but of course, we have a lot more details in that link. This is very simple. You see Red Hat is in charge of the support of the control plane, compute, data plane, the support in general. You can open a ticket to Red Hat or AWS, and then we manage with the joint support to understand where is the let's say, the issue. And the billing, that is very interesting for those that already have a billing and the workloads on AWS, they continue to have the same billing mechanism also with ROSA. So you see your consumption, you can control the costs, you have all the tools that we provide for budgeting and the rest, also for ROSA in the AWS console.
Edo,
yeah, please.
Edoardo, sorry for interrupting. There is a question from Phil. First of all, Phil, thanks for joining, Phil King. The question is, in an on-demand situation, how agile is a suspend and resume for ROSA?
Suspend and resume the
probably worker probably that could be the worker nodes, probably, if this is a correct field. Do you mean the worker nodes field or the overall infrastructure, probably? Let's see.
Because that's changed a little bit, it's if it's
Obviously,
yeah, because you have the ROSA installed. Of course, you have all the master infra node always running. Then you can, of course, hibernate, let's say, or terminate the worker nodes, and that there where there is the pay as you go mechanism. Regarding the cluster itself and the master infra node, as far as I know, there's no, but maybe I'm wrong here, there's no way to suspend them, or maybe there is some kind of snapshot you can do and then restart from the snapshot. But
okay,
we can
I can actually take the question from the next one about the spot instances, spot pricing.
Okay. I didn't see the question, so please.
How would these three options on screen handle spot pricing? I know you can handle it with the machine autoscaler on some, but I think that was last release that ROSA added support when creating a machine set, support for spot instances. So the spot instances is supported on other than default machine sets. So by default, there's masters, there's few infra nodes, and default machine set that cannot be changed. So all the extra machine sets that can be set to autoscale can use spot pricing, but tested that for, let's say, for 2 weeks on a pre-production environment. The workloads really need to take care of the nodes coming and going. Since during that weeks, I had over 300 instances used as nodes. So the nodes really come and go. They are cheaper, they are 60% cheaper, but actually there might be pain for developers who try to use the environment. So that requires extra job from the deployment point of view.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, when you consider spot instances, of course, it's not for all the workload. We usually position the spot instance for HPC, for test and dev, but also for stateless applications. Anyway, because of the layers that you have in between from the EC2 and the application, it should be, safe, and the spot instance is one option. The other one is Graviton 2. So you can leverage the price performance advantage of Graviton 2, that is the ARM offering for the CPUs. That's another option for saving, and that is available as well.
One more question from Stanley. I do have the answer, but I will leave you first.
Maybe you have it. I don't. So
no, probably that's Red Hat point of view. What are the common technical challenges customers have typically encountered when they migrate from on-site OpenShift to ROSA? If you have any specific experience about that, Edoardo.
Well, I have some. First of all, ROSA is, I think, 1 year now that is available.
More or less,
and
yes.
We have a roadmap, and we are releasing more and more features that are already available in the OpenShift container platform that many customers have on premise. The OCS, what's called now, is data. Let me remind.
Data Foundation, ODF.
Data Foundation,
OpenShift
ODF,
Data Foundation. Right.
ROSA is still not available. We have it in roadmap. So that's, for example, one
limitation.
One limitation, something that is different. There are others, and we will see in the console that you have the add-on, you know very well, and of course we will have some add-on, but what we have mainly in roadmap is more integrations with AWS. So at the moment you have the integration with CloudWatch for monitoring them, but we don't have a full integration for S3. So you can integrate S3, but it's a job you have to do. It's not automated or something that you have in console. Regarding the OpenShift itself, I remember this one of ODF. I don't know if Fabio, you have other difference in mind.
No, I was thinking that probably Tero can testify more, but the more you automate the application lifecycle in terms of CI/CD pipelines or GitOps best practices, the less you will have or will encounter issues. So if you standardize the application development lifecycle, it will be less challenging. Bringing the same application beyond the differences you already mentioned before regarding some specific implementation on storage or OpenShift Data Foundation or some specific application release that is not supported or is supported on one of the two. I think that's probably the main suggestion I do have. The more you automate, the less you will encounter challenges. The more everything is made by hands, the more challenging and risky will be the migration from one of the two toward the other.
Yeah, that's a really good question. But I think that from let's say developer workload point of view, there is not that big challenges if you have a modern workload. Since it's still the same Kubernetes, it doesn't matter is it ROSA or OCP. I think that the biggest, I would say, cultural change might be to understand networking and regions. So that how do you deploy, how do you replicate data centers that you have maybe on-prem on public cloud? Do you have single available zone clusters, or do you have multiple regions? How do you collect logs? This kind of the overall architecture and how you expose services. Like, do you use in AWS? In on-prem, it's easy. You just have a load balancer, you open firewalling, and you're using the internal networking. But in the AWS, you always have to think about also the networking from the cost point of view. Do you go outside of doing something, or do you use private link or something and cross region? Or so this kind of networking. And also, if you already use OCP on-prem, there are some features that you cannot do. Like networking is not the same. You have OpenShift SDN, you cannot select OVN for now. And also you only can create machine sets using ROSA CLI. You cannot use GitOps to manage that. So there are some differences, but from the main workload and exposing workload from the cluster, it's still OpenShift. So from that point of it, there's no challenges. It's more about what is around the OpenShift that will be the challenges.
Yeah. Very complete, Tero. Thank you, and thank you, Fabio. Actually, if you're already using AWS, you are used to also to do an appropriate and accurate cost calculation for all the data that are transferring between regions, for example, or the definition of subnets. You have three options actually for ROSA, so the public, the private, and the private link. And so that's something that it's more on the ops side, and I agree. And also in the day two operation, also you can leverage the CloudWatch and the other, of course, Prometheus, Grafana, other tool as well. On the developer side, I agree with you, Tero. I mean, I see less issues in moving in the cloud. Of course, it's a managed service, so you have to focus more on the application. So in one slide, just as I said, we already covered many of these. What is really interesting to me, and I think we will see a lot of more coming and value there is the integration with the native cloud services that we already provide. So if from the application you want to use S3, if you want to use Lambda for serverless, if you want to use some database as a service, or some machine learning tools and services, I think it's very powerful because you are closer to those services and it's easier. But one advantage that I want to mention, and customers are really looking at that, maybe because it's in Europe or in Italy, that is particularly sensitive topic, is the region. ROSA is available also in Italy, for example, in a region, in the Italian region, in Milan, and many other regions. So you know that we have a lot of regions, and we will see how to check in which region is ROSA available. And we are launching, and many other are coming soon. So it's interesting because customers want to keep their data locally in some cases for some policies and regulations that there are in countries.
Yeah, I'm thinking about the sovereignty of cloud sovereignty.
Exactly.
That is becoming more and more a big topic in the European community, and as well in Italy, and
That
mainly for the
sovereignty
public
is
sector. Yeah.
exactly, and also in certain aspects also the latency in a way. I mean, in some cases could be also helpful to have a closer, I mean, the application closer to the end user. On that side, of course, we leverage the this is more the cloud front. So you have the edge location, so it's easier to have the CDN that support you. But again, the region and the fact that you have multiple availability zone in one region, and one availability zone is actually multiple data center, provides you the good of the reliability and the high availability of the cloud, but at the same time the data is still in your region, and that's the main advantage of ROSA at the moment.
Right.
I will stop here with the slides. I like to show you something, but let me know. I have other slides.
Yeah, please. The demo or real life experience are always really welcome in OpenShift Coffee Break.
Okay. Just this slide, because it's this is what you see when you want to enable and start working with ROSA in the AWS console. So you access your console, you look for the Red Hat OpenShift service on AWS, and you have that button on the right that says Enable OpenShift. So you have to enable it. Of course, you need an account on Red Hat site, and then you will have to download the ROSA CLI, and you can start configuring permissions. Okay, before doing that from scratch, I mean, I won't do that from scratch, but because I'm sake of for the time, let's say, mainly, I want to show you the console. Okay, so this is my console that I have, and I hope, I have to refresh it, of course. Okay, just a sec. Okay, so if I enter in the ROSA panel at the moment, because I already enabled it, I have just the download CLI link. I hope it's clear, it's big enough to see. Okay, and then when you download it, you can start. And there is really a nice workshop that I suggest you, and we can go through that. That is called the rosaworkshop.io. And this workshop guides you through the steps, how to set up, how to deploy the cluster, how to create the user, and all the stuff. And till also deploying an application as an example. Using the CLI, as I told you, make it bigger. Okay. So
Yes,
I already.
please, Edo, if you can just increase the font. Okay, thank you.
Is that enough, or? Good.
Yeah, that's cool. Thanks.
That's okay.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so ROSA list clusters, and we have cluster that I already have at the moment. That is my ROSA 2. This is the ID, is in ready state. So I already deployed the cluster. It takes 30 minutes, something like that, to deploy a standard configuration. So 3 master nodes, 3 infra nodes, and 2 worker nodes. And we will see them. But if I want to show you exactly what is in this cluster, I can do it using the describe cluster command. You will see some details. Of course, it's, so you see the name, you see the version. We are currently at the 4.10.3. We have the console URL, the region. It's in the EU West 1, so the Ireland region. Okay, we have 2 infra nodes and 2 compute nodes. We have the CIDR of the service, the machine, the pods, and then we have the details page, the cluster manager detail page that we can access. In order to access that, we have, of course, to create an account, a user in the console, and I show you where and how. So if I go to the YAM service, where you can manage the resources, create the policies, and create the users, the user groups, and all the stuff, you see that I created a user here that is the ROSA user. This is what I created. And then there are many other users created by default by the installation, and they are used internally. But the ROSA users that you need to create at the very beginning is very simple. You need just the administrator access. And of course, you need to copy the security credential and all this stuff, because you need them when you use the CLI. And that then, just to show you also what happened in the EC2 environment, you have really a decent number of EC2 instances that have been created by the installation and the setup of the machine. That's okay. I don't know why I'm not Virginia, Ireland. Okay, here, as you can see, there are the 3 masters, the 2 workers, and the 2 infra nodes here. By default, you have a certain size for the machine. So we have the R5 X large for the infra nodes, M5 X large for the workers, and M5 2X large for the masters. Again, here you can also double check, if you will, the different instance types available. So you can see what's available and the details. Okay, so for example, when we say R5X large is a memory optimizer with 4 CPUs, 32 gigabyte of memory, and so on. And as I mentioned before, you can also have the list of the regions where ROSA is available, and you can see there is Milan, and there are many others. So it's interesting with the multi-AZ support for many of those. What else? Please stop me or give me some note if there are some questions. So back to the cluster. Just let's visit the cluster. So in the description, as I showed you, there is the console URL. So let's use this one. And here you didn't see, but I had to create, and you can see it in the workshop. I had to create a specific admin for user for the cluster. And this is the console for the OpenShift. You see, I mean, if you are used with OpenShift, it's quite easy. You have the cluster utilization, the memory, file system. I mean, here I can let Tiro on Natale, on Fabio to do a better job than me to show this. And of course, you can access the cluster manager. And the cluster manager shows in detail more about the clusters and some more details about the add-ons, as I told you. So for example, here you have the resource usage, you have details about the cluster. And as I told you, there are the add-ons. So I installed the cluster logging operator that is connecting the logs of the platform with CloudWatch. So you can see the logs from CloudWatch, actually, from your console. So if you are used to have CloudWatch as your unique monitor tool for all the resources you have in AWS, you know that you can do a lot of things there. So you can access your log groups. You have, you have the infrastructure logs, the application logs, and some audit logs. And you can create your dashboard. You can search logs. I mean, if you're used to work with CloudWatch, it's pretty simple. And you create some dashboard, some metrics, monitor the events, and also correlate these events with your logs on the application side. And that's really powerful stuff. I want to stop for a moment just to see if there are questions or any other comment from you guys.
Oh, Edo, that's cool. What we've seen, the hybrid cloud console monitoring, controlling multiple OpenShift clusters, so you can control your ROSA cluster, and you can have multiple ROSA cluster connected to the hybrid cloud console, and so you can have a kind of inventory of all your clusters. So that is cool for the multi-cluster strategy, if you will, in a SaaS way. So that's interesting, and for me it was pretty interesting. And how much techie is Edo? It's Edo is a manager. It's not how much tech it is. He's a terminal.
I'm very good on cheating. I mean, so it's I look professional. No, I mean it's a passion that I have, but. As I told you,
I still have a Red Hat DNA.
Maybe.
Red Hat DNA.
I was telling to Fabio at the very beginning that I started to work with OpenShift with the 1.0 or 2.0 version, where we had cartridge. We didn't have containers. It was just C groups and SA Linux and something like that. And what the idea was really fascinating to me. At the very beginning, it was RHEL 7, still not very popular Linux container, or didn't available yet. And I remember that many customers told me, but it's like ZFS with Solaris, and so I was back to my old times in some ecosystem then. So I use it to work with the CLI, and that's still my passion. Just to answer your comment, Natale, but it's everything I can do at the moment for ROSA.
A question, because Edo, from my side, because release 4.10 OpenShift is now really advertised around and publicly available. Do you have some more info about the cluster hibernation feature, which should be already available also on ROSA, or?
That's a great question. I'm not
okay.
aware
No,
of it.
just,
I can really.
Because it's just one of the last announcements. So I can remember it was part of the 4.10 announcement. So,
but if it's, I guess that if it's part of the platform, it should be available. But it's better to double check. I'm not. I'm not really into the details of it.
Okay, no, don't worry.
I'm just looking in Google, but it's better to have a better answer from the documentation. I think that there is a delay, and there will be always a delay between the availability of new release of OpenShift and ROSA updating the
obviously,
yeah, of course.
Because that's part of the jointly support model that we spoke about probably, but I think you can provide some more details about it. So in terms of what does it mean really to have a jointly support from Red Hat and AWS?
Well, it is basically that, first of all, as a user, you can open a ticket both through Red Hat or with AWS. So we then manage the case, and we dive deep and do the troubleshooting and the analysis of the case, and we assign the right ASERI and the right support managing that. So that's the main thing. I mean, we put the best of the two companies on the support side, and I think that you know very well how Red Hat is good in the support. It is the main asset for probably of Red Hat in providing enterprise subscriptions, and you know how we care about our SLAs and availability. I mean, here we are talking about 99.95% of availability of this platform. So it's we are very careful about that. So just to answer you, it's really something that we can manage on your behalf and for the support side. Of course, there are so many other. I wanted to see to find it, and oh, maybe it's not here. Okay. Yeah. In the product page, you will see the matrix details. Just let me bring back the slide where there was that link, so we can dive deep a little bit.
Yeah, please. Okay. Yes, sure.
This one, because I mean, saying support not necessarily means everything.
Let's say that for the last 3 months in production and like 6 months total, all the support tickets that I have created is something related to running something on OpenShift. So I have created all the tickets directly to Red Hat, since I haven't encountered the problems that is kind of easy to say that this is AWS infra problem or networking problem. So it is related to workload on ROSA. These tickets, the infra is pretty solid.
Oh, good to know. Thank you, Tero, for the first-hand feedback. So you see here these long metrics. You can, I mean, really read through these. There are a lot of Red Hat, of course, and then there is the cloud provider. This is very similar to what is ROSA, but maybe other options. What is important to me is the shared responsibility approach that I don't know if you're aware, but we usually start talking about this since the beginning to our customers. So the fact that there is a shared responsibility metrics you need to take care of very carefully. So just to let you understand the concept is this one. So we care and we are in charge of the security of the cloud, and the customer is in charge of the security in the cloud. So we are responsible for protecting the infrastructure, and the customer is responsible for how to protect their data, how to protect their application. Of course, using our tools, we provide a lot of tools for that. And that is also something that is applicable to the abstractor services, or let's say manager services. So you can see where we finish our, let's say, where our responsibility is the boundary, where is the boundary between us and the customer responsibility for the data. And here we will have also Red Hat, of course, in the case of ROSA.
I do have one more question. If my
Sure.
co-host doesn't have one, related more to the use case. If you can provide some, obviously from your personal experience, if you're seeing some industries or some specific use case where ROSA is more fits more in terms of just using, compared to just using self-managed OpenShift on-premise OpenShift.
Yeah, okay. Definitely, many companies are already using OpenShift, and I see many companies in the FSI segment, in the FSI industry. I see companies that are already using OpenShift also in the public sector, in public administration, and I know very well that you see them as well.
As well.
What they are considering, why they are considering ROSA is because they are embracing the cloud computing model, and they want the pay-as-you-go also for those workloads that have on-premises on OpenShift, for example. So they like the fact that they can have a pay-as-you-go model for OpenShift. And the other thing is also the flexibility that they have in the cloud on premise for having an OpenShift environment. In some companies, you need to request the virtual machines, you need to prepare a budget proposal, internal budget proposal, you need to define a chargeback, you need to I mean, it's hard. It's more an operational model, not a technology problem, of course. But in the cloud, it's easier. It's more flexible. You can set up a cluster, you can start working on it, you can start testing, and it's still OpenShift. So for developers, it's very powerful to have an easy way to set up a new cluster and start working in it. So these are, and regarding the use case, really there are many use cases. You know better than me the OpenShift use cases. And I start seeing the containers also in areas like machine learning and like in the data science environment. I saw that in the past you had also an event like this, a coffee break with on
Yeah,
this topic.
we spoke about the newcomer, OpenShift, Red Hat OpenShift Data Science, which is managed services. And in roadmap, there is still not confirmed, but is in roadmap also for ROSA, the support for GPU. So that means also ROSA will be more and more fit the AI ML workloads, as you mentioned.
Cool.
Actually, Fabio, I will add the other aspect to that question. If I would say that you compared, why would you use ROSA instead of on-prem? I would say that if you're already an OpenShift user, it's like a no-brainer. If you need to run on AWS and don't have the resources to do the ops part, the day two, it is really easy to get started. And with the security token service STS integration, it's really easy to integrate to IAM so that you can actually run containers as with an IAM role, and you can use them to access. So it's really good integration. But I would say that the proper comparison, that why would you run AKS instead of ROSA? Because if you're going to ROSA, you're probably an AWS customer, and then you have to compare that. What will I get on top of AKS? And if you just run Kubernetes and you are good with Kubernetes, you have the containers, AKS is fine. It's just Kubernetes and it has everything you need. But in my current work at Liftoff and Wangle, we are now building a multi-tenant environment with developer self-service. We started comparing like what I need to build on top of AKS to get some level of self-service, multi-tenancy, network policies. And it's just easier with ROSA because everything is there already. So I think that is the proper when AKS and when ROSA. When you need like developers more access, you want to have controlled production access to logs, probably cluster reading access. ROSA has that built in. So you will save a lot of money not maintaining those on top of AKS.
Yeah, right. Good point.
Good point. Yep.
That's a good point, Edo. Power to developers, no?
Yeah, maybe.
Not much power,
Maybe.
enough.
But now the everybody's a developer actually, because with the infrastructure as a code, and even in the operation I see developing codes so much. So it's actually, I mean, there's no dev and no ops, there's DevOps, Natale.
It's true. It's true. I like what you said. Everyone is a developer. So yeah, infrastructure as a code, now GitOps, and all Kubernetes and all stuff.
But not go to the full stack superhero. Otherwise we will end up the religion fight.
Infinite discussion. Well, that's cool. I like what also Tero said, that you can you can choose what you need, and that's a valid use case. No, having ROSA that help you with multi-tenancy. If you have teams, developer teams, or people that need to join, you can filter. You can have your granular airbag rules, and that helped a lot. Another cool thing, and I think is coming more and more, is the integration with the AWS also services, right? So if we I want to integrate with RDS or other AWS services, that is native to the platform. So that's also the benefit, taking benefit from the ecosystem.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's something that you can leverage easier if you are in ROSA. You can do it anyway, but I mean, it's easy because you're already in AWS. So for the database, for example, you can leverage serverless databases like Aurora or DocumentDB, DynamoDB, or even the Graph database like Neptune, or the Ledger database like QLDB, TimeStream. I mean, there are so many options. And the storage side, it's also interesting because you already familiar, probably because you tried to install OpenShift on AWS. You're already familiar with EBS, S3, or AFS. But you have, of course, any other options now with the NetApp on top integration or other stuff. So it's cool. I mean, you can expand the art of possible. It's not in the console, so you don't have in the console, in the OpenShift console, the ability to select the services, or maybe we not yet. I don't know. I mean, it's in the roadmap fog that I don't have a clue at the moment about all the details, but it's really easier if you are on ROSA to integrate those. You have the VPC, you have everything already. Yeah.
You mentioned that we're adding more and more cloud services. We have a new services for attaching databases called RODA. So from OpenShift console, you can attach the database with a component called the service binding operator. So it basically you integrate a library in your software, and that helps on automatically binding to a remote database, SaaS database like RDS. At the moment, it's not there, but we're building this ecosystem of databases, to say one.
Yeah, if you think that we were used to create JDBC pool connections in the application server in the old times, and struggling with the pool number of I mean,
the famous or unfamous connection pools.
Yeah,
destroyed the nights.
Yeah, we did some progress.
Edo, you know that Tero is a proud author of a JBoss book, so he's an expert on this topic. He can tell some tales.
I'd rather not go that. I like to keep the discussion a bit high, like let's say lower level. Lower level in the infra and the containers, not about the applications running in there. That's a different mindset.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. So
you still have the open the box attitude there.
Edo, do you have additional slide close up you wanna from the slide?
Actually, it's everything I prepared for the moment. I had the diagram of the details of how the worker nodes and the master infra are balanced with the internal Elastic load balancer and the and the network load balancer. So these are a little bit the details, but I mean, it will take literally 1 hour just for that. One last thing that I really like to share, if I find the slide, is about also the certification. Of course, it's compliance with PCI and all the stuff. The partners that are already using and proposing our ROSA, Accenture and IBM, of course, and others. And last but not least, the well-architected framework. I really encourage you, if I find the slide. Okay, I don't find it. Okay, here. Every time you set up an architecture in AWS, or in general, let me say, but mainly in AWS, take in account these pillars. We have a tool even that you can use for assess your application and your infrastructure basically on those pillars. So you can go to the console, you can define the workload, and there is an analysis of this. This is very important in general, and it's important to review it periodically, because on the operational excellence, security, reliability, cost optimization, it's really interesting that you can find many optimization in the future. So just the only thing that I want to add.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think those pillars are universal, no?
Yeah,
for everything.
definitely.
And in fact, in the console, in the hybrid cloud console, we have the performance monitoring, cost optimization for all your ROSA cluster or other OpenShift clusters. So those very valid pillars that anyone can take in account.
Yeah.
So thanks, Edo. I would like to close up with some follow-up, interesting follow-up. We have talking about book. So Tero is not the author of this book, unfortunately, but we have an IT modernization ebook to share. You can download for free from this page. It's a story by Red Hat and AWS, how you can modernize your IT infrastructure with managed cloud services. So also talking about, of course, ROSA. This is interesting if you like to read that up. Sharing our landing page for ROSA, which, by the way, links the ROSA console that we or shared also before, right? So this is our landing page. Here you find all the information about ROSA. And thanks to our managed OpenShift Black Belt, Andrea, that shared with us the ROSA roadmap. So we put in the chat the link of ROSA roadmap. If you want to see the new feature coming up, it's very interesting. This is the landing page for general knowledge. No. Another interesting one is this report for IDC on how to accelerate agility with the cloud services. It's interesting to define KPI and metrics on the cloud adoption.
And last but not least, don't forget to try out our developer sandbox, Natalia. As always.
Of course, which runs on this sandbox runs on AWS. It's not ROSA. It's multi-tenant to talk to say what to say. No, it's a multi-tenant environment fault for developers. I put the link in the chat. I don't know if that went through. Let me check.
Yes, I put the link to the sandbox. Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. So if you go to the developer sandbox for OpenShift, you got your free account to work with OpenShift on the cloud. You can start developing your application. As Tero mentioned, it's a multi-tenant. You have your quota. You have your services. You can bind. Now you can bind also the databases with the service binding operator. It's really cool environment. Fabio, I don't see in the chat the link. I don't know if we missed it.
I think you're missing it. Yeah.
So thank you very much, Edo, for joining us today.
It was a pleasure to meet you again after 2 long years.
Thank you, Natale, Fabio, and Tero. Really appreciate it also your support during this call, and hope to see you soon live. Hopefully, at some event.
Yeah, hopefully, hope to see you soon live in the real life. Just to make a joke. Very good joke.
Yeah.
Fabio, we thank you, Heather, for joining. It was a pleasure,
Thank you.
and you have to come back, of course. We have lots to say about cloud services, managed cloud
Would
services.
be happy to
As
join.
you know, the modernization is in progress, so we have lots to say about that.
Thank you.
And to close up, Fabio, our appointment for next week, we're gonna have we have to confirm our guest. It's gonna be another database as a series show. We had to wait for the final confirmation. But every Wednesday morning here at OpenShift TV, we talk all about cloud native, OpenShift architecture, cloud. We have a fantastic guest. We have fantastic hosts and presenter. Thank you, Fabio. Thank you, Tero. Thanks everyone joining today. And the appointment is stay on OpenShift TV. Today we have the Level Up and Ask an Admin show, and we'll come back next Wednesday morning.
Cheers,
Ciao.
guys, and thanks for joining. Ciao, ciao.
Bye-bye.
Have a great day.
Bye.
Cheers.